This is supposed to be the greatest watermelon patch in Nebraska, but there's one problem. There's no watermelon. So I know this looks like a boring piece of dirt, but we just freshly tilled this up. We tilled it in order to get rid of all of the weeds. We also had a bunch of straw and residue from last year that we're trying to work into the soil. Looks boring, but hopefully in another few weeks, we'll have this place chock full of watermelons, squash, zucchini, a bunch of different crops. So what we're going to do today is talk about what it looks like to prep in order to plant watermelons. Whether you're in Nebraska or anywhere in the United States, just not Iowa. If you're from Iowa, just keep scrolling. But if you're interested in growing watermelon, today we're going to give you the best tips to growing some for yourself. I know what you see here behind me may be kind of boring and there's not a lot to look at. It's just kind of an empty lot, maybe something that Leslie Knope would want to turn into a park. But I see potential. So the problem with this being the greatest watermelon patch in Nebraska is that, as you can see, there's no watermelon here yet. And that's because we haven't even put any seeds in the ground. But don't worry, we've got them started in the greenhouse. Let's go check it out. Welcome to the Plantagon. Everything you see in here is top seed crit. Come on in. This is where we have, oh my gosh, I almost tripped over that hose. This is where we have all of the watermelons started. Now we've got a couple different varieties. We got sugar babies. That's kind of like your typical standard. I've got, what else we got in here? Ooh, Royal Garden. These are incredible. This is gonna be orange on the inside, so it's red on the outside. It looks just like a regular watermelon, but when you cut inside, it's orange flesh. So we're gonna plant some of those today. We've got your typical crimson sweet. Oh, I didn't even mention, we're planting cantaloupes in there as well. What is this? Sweet Glow. That is a typical yellow fleshed watermelon. So it's actually yellow on the outside as well. I know that I have crimson sweet in here, but maybe it's just sugar. There it is. Oh my gosh, look at that. I'm such a good watermelon grower. A little seed crack. So this is what happens when your seeds don't get enough moisture. If this gets too hard, the leaf itself, it doesn't have enough energy to crack open the hole, and so they get stuck like this. I know that I've got more of these, so that'll be fine, but really good to show off how good of a grower I am. Here's an actually decent one. Now what I did is I started each of these pots, I put 3 watermelons in them. That's because we're gonna plant these in hills, and each hill is gonna have 2 to 3 different plants on them. But that is what we got in the greenhouse. Let's go ahead and grab some of these. We're gonna go out there and start planting, but before we even put anything in the ground, it's important to look at what's in the soil, so let's go look at that next. Unless you're growing aquaponics, you're gonna grow in the soil, so we need to look at some soil requirements. Now, the first thing that you need to know about watermelons is that they do not like to have wet feet, and that means they don't like to have their roots wet all the time. Watermelons are actually a desert crop. They originated in Africa, so they don't like to be super wet all the time. They do need water, but not a lot. That's actually why they're called watermelons, is because they soak up all that water. They're 90% water, which is crazy that they're in a desert, but it's just like a cactus. They soak up as much water as they can. So they don't want it to be really dry. You need to have well-drained soil, so the sandier it is, actually, the better. For the pH, it's gonna be like most things. You just want it to be neutral, about 6.5 to 6.8 pH. It doesn't need to be too alkaline. As far as the nutrient requirements go, it doesn't need a lot of heavy fertilizer. In fact, it doesn't want a lot of nitrogen at all. So a good 5-10-10 is a great fertilizer. We add on all of our chicken composted manure to this place. Really anything that poops works. I'm sure there's been kids that have pooped in our patch as well. So what's the big deal? What are we waiting for? And I'm not talking about the Epstein files. It's May 29th here. Why don't we have anything in the ground? Well, we don't plant watermelons based on a date on the calendar. We actually plant them when the soil is ready and hot enough. That's because as a desert crop, watermelons really like their temperature to be as hot as possible in the soil. 70 degrees Fahrenheit is kind of the minimum. If you don't know your soil temperature, you can go to greencastonline.com, enter in your zip code, and you can actually find out exactly what your soil temperature is. If you want a more accurate reading, the best thing to do is use a Soil Pro, but a lot of us don't have those at home. So we've got a meat thermometer here. This one is a shameless plug for a beefcake jerky company. This is from Andrew Flair. He's not even paying me to say this, so I'll just send him an invoice afterwards. All right, it's 74 degrees outside. Usually your soil temp is gonna be a little under that. So we're looking at, oh, that's about perfect. 71 degrees, we're good to go. Now we're in my corn patch. Why are we in my corn patch, you may ask? Well, as you can see, this side of the corn is in the shade, this side of the corn is in the sun, and that's not good for corn. The problem is we've got this huge shelter belt of trees that blocks a lot of our sunlight. And And if I was a better gardener and thought this through, I would have recognized that corn needs a lot of sunlight. So this half isn't gonna do very well, and that perfectly applies to watermelon. Even partial shade can produce spindly vines, smaller fruit, and even less sugar in your melon. So you wanna make sure that your watermelon is in a place where it's gonna get about 10 to 12 hours of direct sunlight every day. And that sunlight isn't important just for the vines, but it's the warmth of the soil like we mentioned earlier. Now we're ready to start planting. So let's go grab some watermelons from the greenhouse, and psych, we've gotta take care of this soil first, because if we leave this bare, we're gonna have weeds growing all over the place. And we want that sunlight to heat the soil up, but we don't want it to bake all the activity, all the soil microbes. So we're gonna get this covered. We gotta go grab some straw first and get our ground covered. Hey, how you doing? This hay is itchier than all get out, so I'm gonna change, and I'm also gonna get as close to ODing as I possibly can on allergy medicine, because I'm about to die. All right, I changed into my shirt. I'm gonna just basically throw this away because, like I said, this stuff gets in everything. As you can see though, I was a champion of one of these sports. I'm not gonna say which. It's odd that cornhole's on there twice, but I am 5'15", so it's gotta be one of those, and I am not LeBron James. Let's go ahead and get started putting this all out. I don't know how long this will take, so we're just gonna time lapse it. All right, now that I'm itchier than a barn cat with a sand burr on its butt, it's time to actually grab our plants this time. Now, the first thing you want to do isn't just to take your plants and set them outside. You want to harden them off. So that means giving them exposure to the outdoor elements for 5 to 7 days. Just gradually expose them to the sun, to the elements. And then I'm going to go ahead and water them, give them a nice soak, just so that they're, you know, not super dry when they're going in the ground. Once you've given them BYU soaking, we're ready to actually stick them in the ground. I definitely don't think we're going to be planting all of these, but better to have more than not enough. What we're going to do is plant these about 3 to 5 feet apart. Now, each variety is going to have different planting requirements, but generally that's what you want because they're going to vine out like crazy. And you don't want them too close because they will start to fight for things like sunlight. So let's go ahead and get our mounds ready. We're going to put them not in rows, we're just going to mound them up about 3 to 5 feet. Now let's talk about mounds. Instead of putting these just on surface level, we're gonna build a little hill here, and that's gonna help us with a couple different things. It's gonna improve airflow around the base of the plant. That'll help things like disease and pests. It's also gonna, again, improve the warmth of the soil, and most importantly, because these watermelons don't like having wet, soggy roots, it's gonna improve drainage. So what we're gonna do is create a mound that's about 12 to 18 inches wide, and we want it about 6 to 8 inches tall. Now we are ready. We're gonna go ahead and plant this Sweet Glow into our, it's delicious soil. Now, if you don't know this, if soil smells like soil, that's a good thing. That's life, that's activity. If it doesn't smell like anything, then your soil's kind of dead. So I love that smell. I am going to dig a hole here. Now, I don't want this underneath my soil, but I also don't want it sticking up. You want wherever the base of these vines are to be right at the base of the soil. And I'm also gonna break up this root ball just a little bit. That's gonna allow those roots to not get root bound, but we gotta be gentle and tender with them. You don't wanna break them. And then just gently pat everything down. I'm gonna mark it, because even though I think I'll remember, I always forget. So I'm gonna mark it just like that. We'll soak it in, and that's pretty much it to planting watermelons. I mentioned in the greenhouse that I plant 3 seeds in each of my pots, and that's because what I do is I look for the 2 strongest. I want 2 strong vines. You can leave 3, but in this case, these 2 are definitely stronger. So I'm just gonna thin this one out, and that way these have all the nutrients they need and they're not competing too much against each other. And boom, we've got the whole field planted. It only took us like 2 hours, but that's because I have an intern behind the camera to help me. Now that we've got everything planted, let's go over some tips on how you can actually grow the best watermelons. The first thing we're going to talk about is watering. Instead of watering constantly and keeping the whole ground wet, we mentioned that these don't like to have soggy feet. So what we're gonna do is, instead of constant watering, we're gonna go heavy watering. The rule of thumb is about 1 to 2 inches per week, and then let it fully dry out. Let that soil get some air. The roots aren't sopping, soaking wet. Go about a week and do that all through the season until about 2 to 3 weeks before you're ready to harvest. At that point, you're gonna wanna cut off watering completely. And what that does is it's gonna give you sweeter fruit. There's gonna be less water content. It's gonna suck up all that moisture into the fruit itself, and it's gonna start converting into sugar. And so your watermelon's gonna be sweeter if you kind of stress it out a little bit. So no water about 3 to 2 weeks before you're ready to harvest. Next up, let's talk about feed. Early on, it's okay to use a balanced feed like a 10-10-10 where you have a little bit higher nitrogen, but later on in the season, they actually don't need a lot of nitrogen. So you're gonna go with something like a 5-10-10. This is higher in phosphorus and higher in potassium. Again, you can use other fertilizers. I'm just giving you kind of a generic recommendation. Just don't have it heavy on nitrogen. The most likely cause of you not growing good watermelons is most likely disease and bugs. We're gonna handle bugs first. Now, we do everything organically. If you're gonna spray, there's all kinds of pesticides that you can use. But if you're looking at doing it organically, the bugs you're gonna look for are aphids, cucumber beetles, and squash bugs. The best way that we've found to handle these is diatomaceous earth, neem oil, like a neem oil spray, and then an insecticidal soap. Or you can actually plant things around your watermelons like dill and fennel to attract ladybugs and lacewings. Those are predators for those bugs, and so they'll come and help clean up all the pests. But really, bugs is something you've got to pay attention to. Check them daily, if not daily, at least once a week. All right, follow me. I'm gonna show you the secret sauce that allows us to grow the best watermelon patch here in Nebraska.
You follow old Rafiki. He know the way. Oh, whoa, whoa.
Oh, I'm so good I made her pee. Now, I hear all the time people say they can't grow watermelons and they blame the soil, which may be the case. But one of the things that people don't think about is actually pollination is a huge issue with watermelons, which is one of the reasons we don't want to spray any pesticides or insecticides, because it kills pollinators like these bees. We've got 4 beehives behind us, and I am a terrible beekeeper. I hate getting stung, but I love having bees because they help us pollinate our watermelons. And if you don't have any type of bees around, you'll have to hand pollinate. That's okay, you can easily do it, but just remember, if you don't get any flowers pollinated, you're not gonna have any fruit. All right, so that's pretty much it to growing a watermelon. Once your bees have pollinated your flower, it's gonna take 35 to 45 days before that fruit actually is ready to harvest. So you can pretty much just sit around and relax. Crimson Sweet is gonna take the longest, about 90 days. Your sugar babies will be ready in like 60 days. So it depends on your variety, but anywhere between 70, 80 days is about when you're ready to pick. You're probably wondering, how do you know when it's time to harvest? So let's cover that next. All right, so the first thing that we're gonna look for if we're trying to figure out when our watermelon is ready to go is the tendril test. You're gonna find this little curly looking cue. I'd show you, but we don't have any tendrils growing right now, so we're gonna just put a screenshot up here. When you find that tendril closest to the stem of your fruit, if that tendril is brown and dried up, most likely your fruit's ready to go. But if it's still green and fresh, then your fruit's not ready. Next up is the belly test, the underside of this fruit. If the underside is creamy or yellow colored, that means the fruit has set long enough. But if this is still white or light green, then your fruit is still maturing. So if you just gently roll that underneath to see what the color is, that's a really good indicator of your fruit's ripeness. Now we can do the thump test. This is one that you see everyone doing at the grocery store. It's a sound. You want a deep, hollow thud. If it's high pitched, then it's maybe not ready. Tougher to do if it's on the ground. You're gonna have to get real low, but you can hear a pretty good thud there. This one, definitely ripe. Last but not least, we have another eye test. There's 2 things that I look for. Insect bites are a good indicator of sweetness and ripeness. And then the shine. A shiny watermelon is actually not ripe. A ripened watermelon will have a dull kind of matte finish to it. It doesn't look super shiny, and it'll stand up to your thumb being scratched. The skin is ripe enough that it's not gonna scratch with my thumbnail. You can see I can kind of dig in there, but it takes a lot of work to do that. Otherwise, if it is dull, that's actually a really good sign. Well, that's pretty much it for growing your own watermelon. Hope you guys learned some tips along the way. Thanks for watching, and hit subscribe because this is only the first step in us growing the perfect watermelon patch here in Nebraska.